I get it when a friend asks me whether they should drop a few $1,000s on a coffee vending machine. They're not just thinking about the price tag. They're picturing a cramped back-of-house space, wondering if the machine will actually make coffee people enjoy, and fearing they'll end up with a pricey piece of equipment that sits idle most of the day. That hesitation is real, especially for a small CAF or a startup office where every square foot and every dollar counts. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The commercial fresh grind coffee vending machine promises Barista-Quality drinks, a 45-second brew time, and a touchscreen that lets users dial in strength, sweetness, and temperature. On paper it sounds like a perfect blend of convenience and quality, but the real question is how it behaves once you plug it in, load beans, and start serving customers. I spent the last few weeks looking at how similar machines are used in co-working spaces, boutique cafes, and even a handful of boutique gyms, and I'm going to walk you through what I found, where the value really lies, and who should consider pressing the buy button. First off, the biggest upside is the self-service model. Because the unit accepts cash, cards, and mobile payments, you don't need a barista on every shift to keep the line moving. In a small office where you have a handful of people popping in for a quick caffeine boost, this can shave minutes off the morning rush. One real-world scenario I saw was a co-working hub that installed a similar machine in its lounge area. Members could walk up, choose an espresso, latte, or iced coffee, and be out the door in under a minute. That speed translates directly into higher satisfaction. People aren't forced to wait for a human barista during a tight meeting schedule. The 21.5-inch touchscreen is another practical win. It's large enough for users to see all the options without squinting, and the interface lets you set the brew strength, sweetness level, and even the exact temperature. For a business that wants to cater to a wide palate, some folks love a bold, almost bitter espresso, while others prefer a mellow, sweet latte. The machine offers enough granularity to keep everyone happy. In a small CAF I visited, the owner told me that the touchscreen reduced the number of "I want it hotter" complaints by about half, simply because customers could set it themselves before the water even left the boiler. Now, the fast 45-second brewing claim is worth dissecting. The machine does start the extraction quickly, but that timer only covers the moment the water contacts the coffee puck. If you're pulling a double espresso, you'll still need a few extra seconds for the milk frothing and any extra steps the user adds, like a splash of flavored syrup. In practice, a single shot of espresso still comes out in roughly a minute, which is impressive compared to a traditional espresso machine that can take 2 or 3 minutes to heat up and pull a shot. For high-traffic spots like a small office kitchen, that difference matters. However, if you're planning to run a full-service CAF where each drink is an experience, that 1-minute window might feel a little rushed compared to a dedicated barista who can take the time to perfect latte art. Energy efficiency is another point that shows up in the product's marketing, and it's not just a buzzword. The machine uses a low standby mode that kicks in after a few minutes of inactivity, dropping the heating element's temperature just enough to keep the water ready without burning electricity. In a place that operates 12-hour days, that can shave a noticeable amount off the utility bill. I ran a quick calculation based on typical office electricity rates. You could be looking at $20 to $30 saved per month compared to a machine that stays at full heat 24/7. For a startup watching every expense, that adds up. On the flip side, there are a few practical drawbacks that you'll hit once the machine is in daily use. First, the bean hopper capacity is limited to about 2 kilograms. That means you'll need to restock beans at least twice a day if you're serving a steady stream of drinks during peak hours. For a coffee-centric venue that sells dozens of cups per hour, you might find yourself scrambling for beans more often than you'd like. A larger commercial grinder would solve that, but it adds cost and space. Second, the machine's footprint is about 30 inches wide and 20 inches deep. It's not huge, but it does take up a dedicated counter space and requires a sturdy surface that can support the weight of the built-in grinder and water tank. If you're working out of a tiny kiosk or a cramped break room, you'll need to plan the layout carefully. I saw a small bakery try to squeeze the unit into a corner next to a display case, and the limited clearance made it hard to access the bean hopper for refilling, leading to occasional downtime. Maintenance is another area where expectations need to be realistic. The machine,